way, keeping you more day in a special way. Man.
desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Yasharel camped before the mountain. And Shemaiah went up unto Elohim, and Yah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Yaakov, and tell the children of Yasharel, You have seen what I did unto the Mizraimites, and how I bore you with eagle's wings, and brought you into myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me, above all people, for all the earth is mine. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a Kodesh nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Yasharel.
Yah promised he would give us a kingdom. We disobeyed and fell into a syndrome.
We are the sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah.
Yah said in the lands of our captivity, when we return, he will give us liberty. Return back to a land of nativity, kingdom of peace for the whole wide world to see. Oh yeah. Here we go now. Here we go now.
We are the sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah. Sons and daughters of the covenant of Yah.
We will reign for 1,000 years with him. Kings and priests having God's law with him. We will pay for the trials and tribulations. That's when the world will pay us our full reparations.
Reparations.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Pardon me. I was gonna play some music, but I didn't start up my. So those of y'all that want to hear some praise and worship, y'all hang around to the end, and I'll do some praise and worship. But this is Shabbat, so y'all should already be in the zone, right? I wake up in the zone, so I'm already up in the altitude in the spirit realm. But anyway, preferably you all had a good week. And let me just make sure my audio is coming through here right quick. Tune in as we endeavor to go on our way to the Pesach celebration just a few weeks from now. And let me just make sure and I comprehend that there are some people that have already had Pesach, Passover, unleavened bread, whole 9 yards. But hey, it's not a battle of who has the right date or who's right or who's wrong. It's just the fact that you are attempting to return to the covenant, and that's all the Most High is requiring of us at this time. So let's not get into a battle, into a fight with people who have various different calculation methods of how to calculate the new year. I will say this much: it is the new year, whether you started it earlier or whether you have embraced it in this new moon, right? So we're in the season of the new year. So once again, I say Happy New Year to all those who followers of the covenant of Yah, and you comprehend that New Year comes in its proper season, right? This is going to be the close of our Black History series, and so I'm going to kind of go in deep. I'm going to cover a lot of stuff in this session, right? Then because we want to kind of branch into to the season of Pesach, so we can kind of talk about unleavened bread, the significance of it, what does it represent, what does it mean to the Most High, what does it mean to us as covenant sons and daughters, as well as what will it do for us if we participate, what are the symbolisms and all that. We're going to talk about that next Shabbat. And then the following Shabbat, we're going to be right down in Jacksonville. I call him my big brother. He's a year younger than me, but I always call him the big brother. Big brother Moray Josiah Israel down in Jacksonville, Spirit of Yah. So we're going to be down there with him. So if anybody down there, if you're in Jacksonville area, Florida somewhere, and you tune into us and you want to meet us there, that's where we will be in Jacksonville. That will be the first week, which is the Pesach, unleavened bread, first day. And I know people have different calculation dates, but it will be the weekend of the first, the weekend of the first. So we'll be there in Jacksonville, Florida, the weekend of the first, right? So we'll be there during the opening of unleavened bread, day 1 through the Shabbat. So I'll be there to the end of the Shabbat, and I'll be taking flight back to Eastern Shore, Maryland, where I am now, and then my birthday's coming up the same week, and so that particular Shabbat I will take a break from streaming, right? So the Shabbat that will be the following weekend, just for clarity's sake, right? The date for Jacksonville is, if you go to your Google, let me see if I can do it this way here. Google, let me go to my Google map just for clarity's sake. Okay, Google, I said map, not Google map. Google calendar is what I meant to say. So let me see if I can bring this up on the screen here. Okay, so here we go. So let me move to the next month. Okay, so it will be, I will be in Jacksonville Thursday. Okay, so we got the second, and I know people have different dates. I don't know. I don't want to get into a battle of whether it's the first or second, but I'm going to be fellowship with Moray Josiah. So at Thursday, at going down with the sun, is going to be the start of the first day of unleavened bread, that based on the calendar calculation from Maury Josiah. Okay, so the second, I'll be there. The second, the third, I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to meet on the third, but we'll be back on the Shabbat, which is the uh fourth. So we'll be there all day on the fourth. So that's the first. That's 4/4/2026. 4/4/2026. That weekend, right? Okay. So if you are in uh Jacksonville, even Atlanta, if you're in Atlanta, Atlanta's a hop, skip, and a jump. So if you're in Atlanta, you want to come down and fellowship with us, let us know you're coming, because there's going to be a meal there. So we want to make sure that we have proper accommodations for people that's coming. And if you come in and bring a dish, I know Maury Josiah would appreciate it, would love that. So if you're coming, you might be a vegan. You might have a vegan pasta, Rasta pasta. I like the Rasta pasta there. Rasta pasta doesn't have leaven in it, I don't think. Depends on how you make it. Okay. So if you're coming, just reach out to me. My phone number is 443-480-3166. So if you want to come down and celebrate with us that week or the weekend, and you might not be able to make it for that second, but maybe you can make it down for the fourth, right? So 4/4/2026. If you want to meet us there, we'll be there in Jacksonville, and that we will be streaming live on Maury Josiah's channel that day. I will not be broadcasting streaming on the 4th, okay, from this channel. Okay, we'll be streaming from his channel. For the most part, I may upload if time permits the stream for later on. But I do know, like I said, the following week, which is going to be the weekend of the 11th, I'll be out of town for my birthday. Praise the Most High. I will be 62. The Most High let me see 62 years young. And I'm about to have my youth renewed. So if you're in Florida, anywhere in Florida, Orlando, Atlanta, South Carolina, if you in the South Carolina area and you want to come, we invite you to come. Right? We're one family. You don't have to be a part of a particular camp to be able to feel. Maury Josiah and I are like that now. So other people might be different. We don't want to know whose camp you're a part of and who's your Maury and all of that. None of that matters, because when you are a son and daughter of the covenant and we fellowship together, that's it. Right? No isms, no schisms. Right? So with that said, brothers and sisters, hallelujah. So let me just do my greetings for those that have chimed in so far. Let's see. We have my brother Ak Elihu. That's Ak Elihu. I saw the Hebrew. I was like, who is that? Shalom. Is that Shalom Mishpachah? Shalom, let me see. Yeah, Mishpachah. Shalom Mishpachah. That's what it is. That's what he's saying, right? All right, y'all didn't know. Somebody said they didn't know that I can read Hebrew. Well, that actually is the Germanic version of the Hebrew, which is the Yiddish Hebrew, right? But yes, I know how to read the Yiddish Hebrew. I don't speak it because I don't want to lose too many people, because you can get caught up in speaking in a language that nobody comprehends, right? It's all about comprehension, right? Elias Stone, good to see my brother. Shabbat Shalom. Pray all is well with you in the household. I know you in Las Vegas, so Jacksonville is a little far from you. But if you want to come, I'm inviting you to come. Bring the family if you desire. Just let us know you're coming. And see who's this. That's it. So far, Smitty's here. Smitty, Shabbat Shalom. My brother, good to see you on this blessed Shabbat. Pray all is well with you and your household. Also, the sons of Yaakov is here. Shabbat Shalom. That's right. To the house. The house. Everybody's in the house today. There's a song in my spirit that says, praise Yah, praise Yah, Yah is worthy to be praised. Praise Yah, praise Yah, Yah is worthy to be praised. Right? I sing it at the end, so I don't have my keyboard queued up. So, okay. So, hallelujah. Who is this here? This is the righteous one is with us on this blessed Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. My sister, to the kings and priests of the Most High Yah. Hallelujah. Yes, indeed. It is a blessed Shabbat Shalom. Okay. So just keep those announcements in mind, right? One of these days, when the Most High take me into the place where I'm going, we'll be able to sponsor some people to come or to go to some of the feasts of Yah. So y'all keep that in the back burner, because I love to be a person who help people who have a need and who are going through a crisis, because that we're supposed to be that type of people for people that are in this walk. There are a lot of people that have a lot of things going on, and we're supposed to be there for each other. So that's my heart. That's my heart. If I can do anything to help you, I'm here, right? Not to be taken advantage of. Don't get that twisted now, because some people like to take advantage of people. I'm not one that will take the advantage. If I sense that I'm being taken advantage of, I'll withdraw. But if I know it's a genuine need and if I can assist, I'm gonna be there to help. Okay. Who's this here? This is Son of Yaakov said, praise Yahuwah from the depths of my soul. Hallelujah. You like that song? Praise Yah. Hallelujah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So this is the close of our series, Black History series, right? Now, for those of you that are first time viewing us, some people get a little twisted because we share the history dynamic of the so-called Negroes that are scattered throughout the diaspora, connecting us back to the biblical Israelites through prophecy. People think that we're causing a division in doing so, but no, it's not causing a division. It's truth. The Most High put it in the book. So if the Most High put it in the book, though, so then it's important, right? And that's my take on that. All right. Now, so we're going to go ahead and get started with J.A. Rogers. This particular series, this particular lesson, as you know, is called the Negro Mixture in Europe, right? And in Arabs and in Jews, right? So now a lot of people have an issue with that, right? The thing of it is I'm gonna say that as I open, right? Because a lot of people want to put a face on who Israel is and who Israel cannot be, right? So we want to be accurate and we want to be on point, because just because you're an Israelite doesn't give you a free get out of jail free card. If you don't return to the covenant, you could be an Israelite. That's basically you just an Israelite that's disobedient, right? So it's all about. Let me open with this here, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into the book. So let's go to Deuteronomy 30, right? And we're gonna read the first few verses here at the beginning, right? And then we're gonna get into the book. Okay. So with that said, let's do that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30. Let's see if I can do this right here. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start at Deuteronomy 30, verse 1. Deuteronomy 30, verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahuwah, Yahweh, thy Elohim have driven thee, right? Now, just a little side note, look at that word driven, right? You'll see the word nadak. Nadak is the word which means to be pushed off, right? Or to be expelled, misled, to strike, to inflict, right? So now, from the dynamic of the meaning of the diaspora, I say this, and some people disagree, but that's fine. You could disagree. Every Israelite that went into captivity didn't come in the transatlantic slave trade. Some never made it to the shores of America. They're in other lands. Some went, and this would I like what Jay Rogers breaks it down. Some people went in as slaves. Some people went in as free men into the other nations, because that word there actually tells you that word driven, the word nadak. Let's bring it back up again. That word nadak in the Hebrew means to be pushed off, right? To be forced out, right? And now what I want to bring into the picture, right, is that this is going to kind of be incorporated in the sharing today. Is people always quote Barboat's book, Barboat. I think I said it right. Barboat. The T is silent, I believe. Barboat, right? So I'm gonna bring it up real quick because people always quote this. I'm gonna come back to this later on in the session. But this is the book. I'll give you the link so you can have it. I'm sorry, not Barboat, Ogilvy. Get my people mixed up here. This is Ogilvy's book, and this is what Ogilvy says on page 34 of the book. You can click that link and you can get a copy of that book. You can download it to your phone, iPhone, Samsung, Android, on your PC. You can download it on your PC and you have it. But this page 34, right, which says, many, I'm just going to read it as it is. We're not going to get all caught up into the word Jew and all that stuff. I'm just going to read it at face value what it says. If this is page 34, the book is entitled Africa, being an accurate description, written in 1670 by John Ogilvy, right? On page 34, he says, many Jews also are scattered over this region. Okay? Let me say that again because somebody missed it, right? See, let me just say this here, right? This is for my Caucasian friends who say, "Y'all ain't no Israelites." The Christian, we call it the vocabulons, the urban apologists or the Christian apologists that want to say, "Y'all Negroes ain't no Israelites." This is for you. Okay. All right. Now we're going to read it. This is not an angry Negro. This was not somebody who was a follower of F.S. Cherry saying this, right? This man predates F.S. Cherry. He's a writer and what's the word I'm looking for? But it'll come back to me. But he's a writer, okay, and he's writing, and some of what he wrote, he's writing what he got out of Leo Africanus, who predated him, who said some things when he lived, and he lived in the 15th century. This man is in the 17th century, right? All right. With that said, the Most High is using this man to connect the Israelites in Deuteronomy 30 with their culture. So let's go back into it now. All right. With that said, let's go back into it. All right. So he said, many Jews also are scattered over this region. Okay. many Jews are scattered over this region. What region are they scattered over? Africa. Look at that, Africa, right? Some natives. So they're natives in Africa, right? That he said that are boasting themselves of Abraham's seed, right? These brothers are boasting themselves and saying that they are Abraham's seed in Africa. So vocab Malones and all of y'all that want to say, oh, y'all Negroes are not Israelites, right? Here's a man by the name of John Ogilvy who's telling you what he himself discovered by talking to the natives there who's declaring that they are the seed of Abraham. And he's not talking about they're the spiritual seed of Abraham, right? We do know that Abraham had a wife after Sarai passed, and she gave birth to sons. And according to Leo Africanus, the continent of Africa was named after one of them, right? Just for a second, let me go there because somebody said, brother, show that to me in the book. Okay, I'm going to show it to you in the book, doggone it. I don't know why y'all be hard on me. I be feeling some of y'all pulling on my spirit about stuff, so I got to go there. This is not for most of you all. This is for somebody that's viewing this later on, right? They say y'all never give y'all sources, so doggone it, I'm gonna give you the source right now. So keep table Deuteronomy 30, and I want to go to Genesis, right? And we're gonna go in here. We're gonna show you Abraham's wife, right? So this is Genesis 25, right? Okay. We're going to go to Genesis 25, and we're going to start in verse 1, right? Genesis 25, verse 1. Then Abraham took a wife, right? Her name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua, right? Jokshan begot Sheba and Dedan. There goes your Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Asherim and Letusim and Leumim. And the sons of Midian, here you go. So now, this what's important here for our Black history is this: Midian was where Shemaiah, or Moses' wife, was from. She was a Midianite. Y'all, look, she was. Look, Abraham's wife was a Midianite. That's what it said in the book. I know you want to rip the page out, but Moses, Shemaiah's wife, was a Midianite. Her father was Jethro, who was a Midianite, who taught him how to be a priest. We covered that in the previous lesson. It was Jethro that taught Shemaiah how to be a priest. Who taught him? Abraham taught him, brothers and sisters. Who taught Abraham? If y'all go back to the lesson we did a while back, right? Shem taught Abraham how to be a priest. So, and I won't go off to another lesson, but Abraham operated in the Melchizedek order of priesthood, because why? It was ordained for the first man created in the earth, Adam, to be a priest to the earth, to teach his sons and daughters how to be priests, right? So when you flow down through the chain, you get down to Methuselah, who was a righteous man, who taught Noah and who taught Enoch how to be a priest. Oh, y'all don't want to mess with me today, boy. I'm trying to tell you.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
That's a lesson for another day. We're gonna cover that in another lesson, right? All right. So back to Abraham. So Abraham, right? Abraham's son Midian, who who was who was Moses' father's daughter, was Moses' wife's father, was a Midianite, right? So the sons of Midian were Ephah and Epher, right? And Hanak or Enoch. And it's interesting, right? This is the same. This is the same name as Enoch. So that's the lead right there. Why would he name his son Enoch? Huh? Why would Midian, the sons of Midian, why would he name one of his sons Enoch? Right? So now we listen, brothers, since we learned something, we learn something. Enoch, right? Enoch was a priest who taught Abraham, right? Enoch, uh, Methuselah, Lamech, right? All of them were taught how to be a priest by Shem, right? Now, I gotta leave out of that because I'll be going on a whole. I'll be going way out there in the. I'll be launching now. I'll be leaving some of y'all in the shallow water. I'm out in the deep, so I'm not gonna go there. So let's table that for now. All right. All right, back in. So I'm connecting the dots here. Okay, so Abraham, right? And we're gonna get to the mixing of the Europeans in a second. Okay, I just want to lay a foundation here right quick before we go further. Okay, so Abraham had a son in Midian, Epher, and Hanak. So now this son Epher, right, is Afar, right? Afar is where they name the land after him, Africa. Afer meaning dark, Rica meaning rich. Rica is a Latin word which means to be rich. So when you talk about Rica, you talk about Puerto Rica, Costa Rica, right? Rica means rich, right? The soil is rich, right? The land of Africa means a dark mass or continent that's rich. All right. So now back to John Ogilvy, and then we're going to branch back into J. Rogers. All right. So with that said, I just wanted to bring that out. The Before I go back there, let me do this here. Let me go back to John Ogilvy, and then we're gonna go back to Deuteronomy 30, and we're gonna branch back into J. Rogers. All right, how about that? Is that okay? All right, now. So he said, many Jews also scattered over his region, some natives boasting themselves of Abraham's seed, inhabiting both sides of the river Niger, right? So interesting, right? Inhabiting both sides of the river Niger, right? So when you think about it, right, that lines up with the scriptures because Cush had two sides of the land, right? The east side of the river, which included all of Babylon and Sumer. We're gonna cover that later on in the same study, and also on the west side, which is the east coast of Africa, which is also a part of Cush territory, right? Am I right?
Am I right?
Okay, now, so he says, others are Asian strangers. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
How do you have Asian strangers? Asian strangers? How do you have Asian strangers in Africa? Asian strangers. Is it kind of like when Deuteronomy 30 said that the children of Israel will be scattered? Is it kind of like when you say they were scattered and these people are strangers from Asia? Are they the same people that fled out of Jerusalem and Israel into Africa that he calls strangers from Asia? You ever thought about that before? That's what it is. That's what he's saying. He's saying these are Israelites who are strangers. Look at it again, because y'all think I'm making it up. He says some are Asian strangers who fled there. He gonna break it down just in case you think I'm making it up. See, some of y'all think I'm just talking crazy. I'm just making stuff up. I'm analyzing what this brother is saying, and we're connecting it to the scriptures so you can see that the scriptures is speaking. The prophets are saying the same thing that these historians and researchers are writing in their books. This is not something that you first heard for the first time, that some angry black man who had a bad deal in life is trying to tell you an Israelite, right? Okay, this is what the Most High brought forth out of a writer. Now check it out. Let's go back into it now. All right, so he says that they're Asian strangers who fled there from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian. So who is Vespasian? Who desolated Jerusalem, right? So now I can pull it out and I can go over here and I can prove to you that those people historically were Israelites, that this John Oldby is saying they were Asian strangers that fled into Africa, right? When Vespasian desolated Jerusalem, right? Am I right? We got to know this stuff, brothers and sisters, because when somebody come at you and try to attack you and all of that, you bring the resources, bring out the receipts. Tell them, say, look, you know what? I got receipts, brother. I don't care what you say. You can be mad and you can get all super spiritual and religious, but that means nothing to me, because spirituality is not based on your feeling anyway. It's based on the breath of Yah that brings forth enlightenment, knowledge, and comprehension. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. So let's go back in here. All right. So he says what? He says that they're Asian strangers who fled there from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian, or from Judea, wasted and depopulated by the Romans. See, look, Jerusalem was wasted and repopulated. He says depopulated. It was wasted and repopulated by the Romans, the Persians, the Saracens, and the Christians, right? So that's a whole nother lesson. That's a whole nother lesson. But the people that's in Jerusalem today, he's telling you who they are, right? Jerusalem was repopulated by Romans, right? What do you say? Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians. That's why they had the war called the Crusades, because the Christians got in there fighting against the Arabs, the Muslims, right? The Persian Muslims, not the Afro-Asiatic Muslim, because you got Afro-Asiatic Muslims that are black Moors. But we're talking about the Persian mixture of Arabs. That's what we call the Arabs, right? The Persians, right? Now, Persians come from Madah, who is the son of Yafet, right? Now, let's go back in, because I'm kind of giving a little too much information, right? That's why y'all gonna have to buy my book. Okay, now, so he says that they fled from Judea when Judea was wasted and depopulated by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians, right? Or else such as came out of Europe. Now, so this is look, we're gonna show you. Jay Rogers is gonna nail this right here. We're gonna come back to this. He said, or else such as came out of Europe. Boom. So the question is, right? We're gonna cover that a little later on. The question is, how did they get to Europe? Huh? You want to know? Inquiring minds want to know? Jay Wright's going to explain to you how they got there, right? So he said they came out of Europe. Watch what he says here. Let's go back in here, because there's some good stuff here. Y'all better download this book. Okay, here we go. He says they came out of where we at? else such as came out of Europe, whence they were banished. Oh, so they were banished out of Europe. We're gonna read that a little later on today. Out of some parts of Italy in 1342, right? Okay, we're gonna cover that today too. Out of Spain, well, in Spain too, in the year of 1462. How about that? Out of the Low Countries in 1350. How about that one, right? And out of France in 1403. Oh, France. Wait a minute, brother.
Wait a minute.
How did these Negroes get in all these European countries? That's what this whole series is breaking it down, showing you, right? So let's go back. So he says what? That they out of France in 1403, out of England in 1422, out of England, right? These all differ in habit and are divided into several tribes having no dominion, though both wealthy and numerous. Underline that they were wealthy and numerous, right? In other words, this debunks that we in the lands of captivity, so we can't have nothing, right? He said they were wealthy and numerous. So the Most High is doing what? He is doing what? He is restoring, even in the lands of captivity. Israel don't have to be broken, be begging, be a pauper, because based on your decisions, how you handle what Yah put in your hands will determine your success. Our success is determined by our decisions that we make. The devil can't stop you. Caucasians can't stop. Nobody can stop you but you. If you believe in Yah and you carry the book called the Bible and you believe it, you expect whatever's in there is going to come to pass, because the Most High made promises, right? So we have to start holding the Most High to his word. If you're a covenant keeper, if you're following the law, statutes, and commandments of God, you shouldn't be sick. It's time to come off that sick bed, right? I'm testifying because I came through it. Look, I put a demand on Yah's word, but that's a whole another lesson. All right, let's go back in. Okay, all right. So so he said that where was I here? These are the fur inhabit and are divided into several tribes having no dominion, though both wealthy and numerous, but despised of all nations. Right? I gotta hit the boom in that. Despised of all nations. Now, stop for a second, brothers and sisters, right? Wait 1 second. Right?
Wait a minute.
He said, despised of all nations. I'm going to show you something the Messiah said. Right? Let's go to the scriptures here. Let's go to that just came in my mind. Okay. So this is Matthew 24, right? Matthew 24 and verse 9. Okay. So Matthew 24 and verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be what? Hated of all nations for my name's sake, right? Did Yahshua nail it? He nailed it. He nailed it, right? Now, Ogilvy, I keep saying Barbeau. He's on my mind this morning. Ogilvy brought it out because Ogilvy said that they will be despised of all nations, right? So look at what he said, right? He said they but despised of all nations and so abominated by the Turks. We're gonna cover that. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go in deep that they are not admitted to be Mohammedans or Muslims unless they are first baptized, and when no otherwise made use of them to receive their customs and gather in their taxes, right? So now, as we branch back, right, into J. Rogers, let's flip back to Deuteronomy 30 where I started, and then we're going to go into J. Rogers, because J. Rogers basically operated as a prophet through his writings, connecting the scriptures to the diaspora of the people of the book. Boy, that brother was deep, brother. I'm trying to tell y'all, that J.A. Rogers was a beast in his writing, man. Whew, man. All right. So with that said, let's go back to Deuteronomy 30, and then we're gonna branch into J. Rogers. So now, the intent is us knowing that we Israel is just the first stage of returning to the covenant. Because see, the thing is that's the problem I have with some of these movements to say, we Israel, but yet we doing the thing that the Christians do, right? We still worshiping on Sunday, right? We still calling the Most High the Lord God and Jesus and Christ. We don't see that the first initial convert to the covenant was when the Most High told Shemaiah or Moses. He said, I want to know what's his name, because they're gonna ask me, what is this Elohim's name? And he gave him the name YHWH, pronounced Yahweh, Yahuwah. Some people say some, whatever. But he said, this is my name forever. Right. So in returning to the covenant is returning to the person who is, people always say, oh, bless the name of the Lord. What is his name? Right. And the scripture said, what's his son's name? Right. All right. So now, with that said, we go back to Deuteronomy 30. Right. And let me see if I can flip it back here. Okay. He says, shall come to pass when all these things that come upon thee, the blessings and the curse, I have set before thee among and called them to mind among all the nations, right? All the nations. So we're not just in one nation. America, United States is one nation. He says in all the nations where Yah have driven thee, right? There goes that word, nadah. And you shall return to Yah. This is what's required. Not you knowing you're a physical DNA descendant or a part of the house of Israel, but you're returning to the covenant. That's the whole thing. That's what this whole premise is about. Returning to the covenant of Yah, not returning to your identity, right? Identity does nothing for you. You have to return because the Most High made some promises to those who keep the covenant, right? Now, let's go. I'm getting excited today. Okay, all right. It's got my preacher on today. All right. He says, shall return to Yah and shall obey his voice. Okay, so it's all about obedience, according to all that I command thee this day. Right? What did he command? Right? That thou and thy children with all thy heart, with all thy soul. Right? Right? So he said the kicker is returning to the covenant. Right? Returning to Yah, right? And obeying his voice. That connects with Exodus 19, which connects us back to the priesthood, right? Because he said, if you obey my voice indeed, right? This is verse 5, Exodus 19. If you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, right? Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth's mine. That's why I say, if you are keeping the covenant, you have every right to expect to see the riches, even in captivity, right? We don't have to live as a pauper. Okay? I've never taken that Hebrew Israelite vow of poverty because we in captivity. That's something that a trick or a trap to keep you in lack, right? But Most High is bigger than that, right? All right. So now, with that said, let me go back. So that's what Deuteronomy 30 said. We are to return to the covenant, right? And in returning to the covenant, that's what's going to kick in the blessings, right? So he says, then Yah will turn thy captivity, because that's what the millennial kingdom is about, and have compassion upon thee, will return and gather thee from all the nations where Yah have scattered thee, If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from there Yah will gather thee, and from there Yah will fetch thee. He will bring thee in thy, and he will circumcise thine heart. So that's the spiritual and literal circumcision, and thy heart of thy seed to love Yah with all thy heart that and with all thy soul that thou may live. That's what it's all about, right? So when you struggling and suffering financially and you can't you barely having the ends meet, you're outside of that promise. You're outside of that promise. You better hold the Most High to what He said. You walking in His law, statutes, commandments. I have an expectation. It's an instruction. If I do this, this is going to happen, right? Okay. Tell an airline pilot when he goes in that runway and pulls off and follows the laws of thrust and lift, that plane going up. It better go up because there's a law that goes into effect. The law works whether you believe it or not. It's not about whether you believe it. It's a law. If you practice, oh my goodness, y'all. If you practice the law, you're going to see the result that the law promised. Oh my. I'm done on that one. I'm telling you, I feel my preacher on that lesson. Right, we're gonna do a lesson on that later after we get through this here. We're gonna maybe we're gonna talk about it during Shabbat. That's the time of the Spirit, huh? Everything that the Most High said is Spirit. Spirit is more real than the physical because Spirit never dies. Physical dies, but Spirit lives throughout eternity, right? The wisdom of Yah is spirit. The words of Yah is a spirit. Man, let me get on back to. I'm going deep. Okay, all right. So, that said, my goodness, y'all. I feel something happening this morning. But let me get back to the lesson. Okay, all right. So, into J. Rogers. So we're gonna talk about as we go forward. So this is the time. Let me just kind of take a breath, take a breather to get my wind back, y'all. All right, sorry about that, brother and sister. I had to regroup because boy, I was out there. Whew, I needed it. Okay, so anyway, before I go ahead further, admins, if you have Lamar Gent blocked, please unblock him. I don't see. He just texted me. and he's a brother, in the covenant, and he's been trying to text in the live stream chat. And so if you have him blocked, check and see if you have Lamar, uh, his YouTube user, I think it's Lamar Gent. If you have him blocked, please unblock him, because we talked about that last Shabbat. He wanted to come in at the end on the live stream. So once again, if you have Lamar Gent, and text me your, I got your text message here. So text me your, text to my phone your your YouTube user, so I can make sure that you're unblocked if somebody has you blocked, because one of the admins maybe have blocked you. They may not be present right now, because I don't see Dookie Dollars on, brother Dookie Dollars. I don't see him, and I don't know if he blocked you or somebody else blocked you, but please unblock my brother. Okay. And he left a message here. His mom passed on Wednesday, and he says, thank everybody, sisters and brothers, who prayed and for the fellowship, and etc. So if you have him blocked, please unblock Lamar Gent. So let me just type it here. Please unblock. Okay, if you have him blocked. Brother, welcome. Good to see my brother King's at it again. Shabbat shalom to you, my brother. Also to brother Lion Pride. Good to see my brother. Exactly, absolutely. All right, so into J. Rogers. Okay, so now into J. A. Rogers. This is chapter 7 of the book, Mixtures of Whites and Blacks in Greece, Turkey, Italy, and Central Europe, right? So we're going to start right here in talking about, because what I want to do, I want to lay a foundation so you can comprehend. Okay, we just read to you how the Messiah said, matter of fact, let's bring this into picture first, because it's in my mind. I didn't give it to you, but I'm going to give it to you. Okay, so Luke 21:24. This is what the Messiah said. This is after the captivities in the Tanakh, right? Okay, Luke 21:24, right? Luke 21:24. All these passages and these profound statements in scriptures and the Messiah, the Messianic age, concur with what the Most High said out of the mouth of the prophets, right? So 21:24. He says this here, okay? Luke 21:24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, right? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the time that the Gentiles be fulfilled. So that's what the book say. So if you are a believer, if you believe the Bible's true, then you have to explain to me what period of time did this happen, right? Because the writers are zooming in and telling you they're using the Bible timeline, they're matching it, merging it with history. There's another book that I use called The Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms, right? Where he's free now. He's able to text. So whoever had him blocked, please don't block Lamar Gent. Okay, all right, praise the Most High. Okay. So yeah, I see your okay, I see your text, but you're in good now, so let's go ahead. All right, now moving forward. So the Messiah said that Israel will fall by the edge of the sword. Now the foundation I'm laying is this here, right? Who was in rulership when Israel went into captivity in the Messiah's day, right? Was it not the Romans, the Greco-Roman civilization, right? So now the foundation of the Greeks and Romans Empire included a territory of land called the Byzantine, right? So that's where we're going to start right there. All right. So with that said, now we're going to branch back into the book. He says the Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire, just in case you're not clear, like the Western was a great melting pot. He says Greeks, Armenians, Arabs, Jews, Negroes, boom, Nordics met and mingled in disregard of race. Now, so to my people, to my Christian urban apologists, to my vocabulons that have this, that blacks came from Africa, Jay Rogers is smarter than you. He's saying that they was mixing in the Byzantine Empire. Okay? So let's let the scholar who has traveled, I don't know that Vocabulon traveled the world and gone into these places where Jay Rogers went. We're going to show y'all some images today, too, in this book. We're going to show you some stuff about sex and race, all right? I'm going to extend this lesson, this class, until I get it done. I'm going to try to get it done quick, but if I can't, I'm going to extend it until I finish, all right? So he said it was the Byzantine Empire, the Western Roman, okay? Eastern Roman, like the Western, was a great melting pot. Greeks, Armenians, Arabs, Jews, Negroes, Nordics met and mingled in disregard of race. Byzantium was closely linked with Ethiopia. Let me say that again, right? Byzantium was closely linked with Ethiopia. I wonder why, right? Byzantine rulers took their title Basileus from Ethiopia. Did you know that? All right. And such prejudice as existed were tribal, national, and religious, principally the later, after Christianity came to power. There was, says Spengler, not the slightest difficulty about an Irishman who was in Constantinople. So the Irishman was in Constantinople marrying a Negro woman. Right? And if both were Christians. Justin II married his Negro cook. Justin then married his Negro cook to a noble Roman lady. So wait a minute here, brother. Wait a minute. He says that Justin II married his Negro cook. His Negro cook. I mean, that's the father, right? Because he say the paternal lineage come from the father. That's what the camps teach, right? Okay. So Justin's cook, who was a Negro, married a Roman lady. Now, if Justin's cook was a Negro and he married a Roman lady, what would his children be? Even if they look like their mother. Regardless of what the physical feature may be, if that Negro cook married a Roman lady, and if she was pale, and she probably wasn't, but it's just say if she was pale white, and the child happened to come out looking like who's a good example? Looking like Kim Kardashian. That child is still a Negro. Because the line follows the father, right? So he's saying that Justin's Negro cook married a Roman lady. So let me say that again. So if he was a Negro, camp teachers, and he married a Roman lady who was a Japhite, and the child comes out looking like Who did I say? Kim Kardashian. I'll take it a step further. Justin Bieber. Ah, that child is a Negro. So it's not about what that child looked like on the exterior. See, that's where we get caught up with looking at the physical features. You don't know a person's history just because by looking at them in the face. They might want to blend in hiding with the Caucasian people because it's favorable at this time because they can pass for a Gentile. Right? All right, back to the book. Okay. So he says, nice forest, focus, greatest of the Byzantine rulers was an Arab, and from the description given of him by Lupran, Bishop of Cremona, who saw him, a Negro. This guy is in a Byzantine Empire. He said that he looked like a Negro. Such prejudice as existed against race and matter of marriage were directly chiefly against the fair whites to the north because they were considered heathens. Right? Constantine the Great issued strict orders against even the marriage of their princes with his people. So now, let me just back up something because something he said was very profound here. So this is to my Christian friends who want to make the Greeks look white, look like Caucasian, North Caucasians, right? Jay Rogers says right here, he says that Constantine the Great, right here, Constantine issued strict orders. So Constantine, who was Constantine, the Emperor of Rome, issued strict orders against marriage of their princes with his people. Whose people? Such prejudices are existed against race in the matter of marriages were directly chief against the fair whites. The fair or the very high, less melanin or pale, if you will. He says that it was chiefly against the fair whites, and just in case you're not clear about it, he says to the north, because they were considered heathens, right? So Constantine didn't allow the Greeks to marry the pale-skinned Northern Caucasians. So then how could the Greeks look like the Caucasians? How could Constantine look like an Anglo Saxon if he didn't mix with the Northern Gentiles? Okay, let's go back in now. I know somebody's mad as hell right now because of that, but look, the truth is the light. All right. Brother King that again said that you can't judge a book by the cover. Ain't that the gospel truth, my brother? That's the gospel truth. All right, now back in. Okay. He goes on to say, Negro soldiers who had been coming into Greece from about the 10th century BC continued to arrive until the War of Greeks' Independence in 1830 and later. So let me back up for a second because this is deep here, right? Look, I want to do this for clarity because see, we've been dumbed down and we've been educated with false information. He's he quoted his sources here. Y'all can check the sources out in your own personal time. But he made the statement that Negro soldiers had been coming into Greece from about the 10th century BC. So that's what? 1000 BC, right? So since 1000 BC, vocab Malone, the Negro soldiers have been coming into Greece. Since 1000 BC, the 10th century BC, right? It was no light, fair, complected Greeks, Caucasian Gentiles, Gomerites, Russians, all of them, Northerns. They wasn't even allowed to marry the Greeks. It was a bunch of Negroes marrying the Greeks, right?
What you bringing to the table, brother?
I know that's right. Somebody's mad as hell at me now, but that's okay. You'll get over it. Learn something, right?
You're gonna learn today.
All right, let's go back in. Okay. I'm just getting my feet wet. Okay, so he says, since 10,000 BC, and they continue to arrive until the War of Greek Independence in 1830 and later. How about that? The pirate who plundered the temple of Neptune was Sino, a Negro. In 904, Leon the African invaded southern Greece. Leon the African invaded southern Greece with 54 ships and 10,800 Negroes and ruled it for years. Let me back up and say that again, because somebody is doggone it and missed it. He says that in 904, Leon, I read this in another book too. This is good stuff here. Leon the African invaded southern Greece with 54 ships and 10,800, right? Negroes, 10,800, what? Negroes, 10,800, what? Negroes, and ruled it for years. So, to my people that want to make, Israelites, they weren't black, them Greeks they wasn't no Negroes. You don't know your history. You don't know your history. Because he's saying 10,800 Negroes, and at that time, that's a lot of people. 10,800 back then is almost equivalent to 1 million people. Okay? In terms of the population size back then. Okay. He said 10,800 Negroes ruled it for years. So the 10,000 Negroes ruled southern Greece for years. Well, doggone it, who was those Negroes that ruled Greece? They were Israelites, brothers and sisters. Okay, let's go back. All right. Negroes were an important part of the Turkish army that captured Greece in 1453. So now you got 1453. The Negroes were part of the Turks, who are descendants of Japheth, right? They captured Greece in 1453. It was a gigantic Negro named Hassan, who was the first to mount the walls of Constantinople during its siege. Then it says the Turks ruled Greece for the next 4 centuries. Under them, blacks and mulattoes held high positions in the army and navy and had harems of who? White women and black women. Boom! It said there was no color prejudice. Now and then. It's supposed to be then. It's a then. Now and then. An unmixing black man rose to be ruler in all but name. He was generally a eunuch. We read about eunuchs in the book, right? He was generally a eunuch, the Kislar, Agassi, or head of the harem. He was a prince of what? Okay, look at these pictures here. We're going to go to the next page. This is a picture of Slave Market by J.L. Jerome, 824 to 1904. Negroes and whites being sold together. Okay, I got to kind of move fast because some of these pictures, I don't want YouTube to flag up because they'll cut a segment out. Okay. All right. Turkish Sultan with his Negro favorite, right? I think I might have showed this before, but anyway. So the empire and the governor of sacred cities in Mecca and Medina, and by tradition a Negro, right? So you got Mecca and Medina, Negroes in there. Kislar held power for 7 centuries. So Kislar held power for 7 centuries. That's 700 years. The Kislar. Okay. A French writer of 1635 said there were 500 Negroes for 300 women in the Sultan harem. 500 Negroes for 300 women in the Sultan harem. He describes them as having flat noses, thick lips, and curled like wool, and face fearfully black, so there is no white to be seen but their eyes. Some of these blacks taught the women dancing and deportment. The Turkish power extended beyond Greece into Bulgaria, okay, Romania, Serbia, and Albania, and almost to the gates of Vienna. Large numbers of soldiers used in the conquest were what? Negro levies from Egypt and from Sudan. Now, remember we just read, we told you that John Ogilvy said there was many people all over Africa saying they were Abraham's seed. Okay, we know Ishmael was in North Africa. He's an Egyptian, but he's Abraham's son. On his mother's side, he's an Egyptian. So these are the same people that he's talking about that went into these lands, brothers and sisters, right? Let's go back in, okay? He said they left traces of their blood. Let me back up for a second, okay? Turkish power extended beyond Greece and Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Albania, and almost to the gates of Vienna. Large numbers of soldiers used in the conquest were Negroes, levies from Egypt, Sudan. They left traces of their blood in the whites of all that region. What region? Okay, let's unpack it. These blacks that came from Egypt and Sudan, he's saying they left traces of their blood in who? In the Greeks, in the Bulgaria, in Romania, in Serbia, in Albania, and in Vienna. Y'all stop the madness. Y'all stop the madness. Huh?
Stop the madness.
There we go. Wait a minute. So what? See, I'm telling you, we've been lied to, y'all. We've been lied to. I got a third cousin in Ireland. I'm trying to figure out, how do I have a third cousin in Ireland? That's been bothering me because I'm like, I need to know part of that history. How I got a third cousin in Ireland? Okay. So he said that they left the traces of their blood in all these people, right? So the Negroes left traces of their blood in the Greeks, the Bulgarians, the Romanians, the Serbians, the Albanians, right? The Vienna, right? That's in Italy. And large numbers of soldiers used in the conquest were Negro levies from Egypt, Sudan. They left the trace of the blood in the whites of all that region. So they got the one drop rule. So those people, as quiet as they might be kept, They got some Negro DNA. They got some Negro DNA. They don't want to tell about it. It's a shame. Truth is coming out. Okay? Let's go back in. All right? So, in Egypt, in 1840, now we talk about recent time. Now, 1840, not too far away, about less than 200 years ago, about less than 200 years ago, right? In 1840, Egypt sent 30,000 Negro soldiers to ravage southern Greece. Melanchthon tells of the large number of Negroes of both sexes he saw in Istanbul alone. Okay, so we got Istanbul. Let's do this here real quick. Let's see if we can zoom in on a map and find out where this Istanbul is. So let's do a quick tour right quick. I didn't have to do my homework to do this tour. So let's do a quick okay. Let's see if I can find it right quick. All right. Istanbul. Okay, I don't know where that is. Istanbul. Let's see. It's in Istanbul. Okay. It's in Istanbul. It's called Istanbul. Okay, Istanbul. So I guess maybe it was a typo. Okay. So the book says what? He tells us that Bulgaria. Let's do this. Do Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia. Okay. So let's do this here. Let me let y'all see what I'm doing here. Okay. So let's go. Let's do directions, and then we're gonna do. Let's move this up here. Bulgaria. Okay. And let's see. Vienna was another one. Vienna. Okay. So I had for some reason I had Vienna in Italy, but it's up here in near Austria. Okay. So he says Bulgaria and Romania. So let's add them in. Bulgaria and Romania. Y'all see what we doing? So we're showing you what he's saying. So the Negroes was going all up in here, right? Vienna's way up here near Austria, right? So Germany is way north up here, and Poland's way. So these people here saying they have no connection with the Greeks. Okay, so J. Rogers says that these Negroes left their traces of their blood in the whites of all that region. In 1840, they sent 30,000 Negro soldiers to ravage southern Greece. Melanchthon tells that the large number of Negroes are both sexes he saw in Istanbul. So we showed you Istanbul, right? Istanbul, which is right here. See Istanbul right here? That's what they call the Byzantine, right? There's Brother Dallas. Shabbat shalom, my brother. Good to see you. Good to see you, my brother. Yes. Shabbat shalom, my brother Dookie Dollars. Good to see you, my brother. Lion Price says something. He says he served in Hungary for 6 years, and every one of these countries you mentioned was all part of the U.S.-led consortium built for Ukraine versus Russia. How about that? That's good stuff there, my brother. Military. What branch of the service were you in? Were you in the Marine Corps, Army? Were you a Green Beret? My dad was in the Army. I like the Marine Corps though. I never did make it to the military. I was supposed to go to the Air Force, but I didn't make it. Didn't make it. I went to college instead. All right. So back to Nature of the Color Line. So he says, let's go back in here. He says what? He says, from the white Caucasian to the black Negro, all the intervening tints and complexions are to be seen within the precincts of this metropolis. They don't want to tell that part, right? So, among these various races, the African stands conspicuous on account of both the tint and the number of its members. No distinction whatsoever, he says, was drawn between white and blackface. He estimates that in the Greco-Turkish region had been brought in over the centuries 100,000 Negroes, boom, by each generation, most of whom died from overwork. Among the mulattoes holding the high office, he named General Mehmet Pasha. Blacks were seldom permitted to marry among their own people. So what's he saying? He's saying that in Istanbul, right, they were marrying these people that we showed you on the map. They was marrying all these people, all these women. So the Negroes were marrying these women way up here in Vienna. That could explain why I got some cousins in Germany. I got some cousins in Germany. See, everything is not what it looked like, brothers and sisters. See, we get all this hate-filled uh, anger at people because of what they look like. They just might be a cousin. You might be mad as hell at a cousin of yours, and they hating on you, and they don't know that they're your cousin. They don't know we from the same people. Up their tree, they got an African Negro in the paternal line. That's why they got a little bit of that Nigerian DNA or whatever. When they do their ancestors, I don't have any blacks in my family. I say I got this percentage of Negro DNA. You got a cousin who don't look like you, right? All right. So he says, white and Negroes were put up indiscriminately for sale in the Turkish markets. Patrick wrote in the same Sultan. There you go. I'm gonna keep moving because they got some pictures here. I don't want no problem on YouTube. Okay. Aziz, there were slave markets which were open to the public. According to the Mohammedan region, all races were equal before God, and the boys and girls sold in this way were sometimes fair Circassians or Circa-Asians, and sometimes blacks. Miss McIntosh wrote, not only poor black Nubians are sold in Damascus, they're sold where? In Damascus. Wait a minute, hold a second. Damascus? Where's Damascus? Hold on a second. Now I gotta throw Damascus in this rotation. Y'all don't like me. Wait a minute. Okay, there's Damascus. Look. Well, I already knew where it was, but I just want y'all to see. Damascus is in Israel. Look. See? So the dots are being connected, right? So J. Rogers said that what? He said that they were sold. Nubians are sold in Damascus, but white slaves, beautifully Circa-Asian women. J.L. Stevens, an American diplomat and a strong believer in white racial superiority, wrote of the slave market in Constantinople in 1835. To my surprise, I found there were 20 or 30 white women. He says, bad, horrible as this traffic is under any circumstance to my habits and feeling, it loses a shade of its horrors when confined to blacks. But here, whites and blacks were exposed together in the same bazaar. The women were from Circa Asia. and the regions of the Caucasians, that country so renowned for beautiful of its women. How about that? There goes your beautiful skull, right? He said, one thing particularly struck me was perhaps as an American, I ought not to have been so sensitive. A large number of men were at work in the fields, and they were all slaves. Such is the force of education and habit, that I have seen hundreds of black slaves without a sensation. But it struck rudely upon me to see white men slaves, an American, and he one whose father had been a soldier in the Revolution, and had fought to sustain the great principle that all men are by nature free and equal. In other words, in the Near East, under both Christianity and Islam, a pronounced difference of color as the between white and black counted for no more than to say that between brunettes and blondes in North Europe, right? How about that, right? So let's see. That's what I wanted to read. I actually went further. I read more than I wanted to read. Okay. All right. Let me come back on the screen here. Okay. I'm not going to read. It's not my attempt to read the whole book, but I read more than I wanted to read there. Okay. Now let's go to Greece, right? Let's go to Greece. Okay. This is on page 117, right? Page 117 in Greece. Okay. All right. He says, much Negro strain also came into Greece and Turkey through Arabia. Wait a minute a second. Hold up a second here.
Wait a minute.
Did y'all hear he said, this is some deep stuff here. This is too much. This is too much, brothers. This is too much. He said that much Negro strains came into Greece and Turkey through Arabia. So now, what is he saying, brothers and sisters? He's saying that the Negroes were in Arabia. Who's in Arabia? Arabs. Okay. He said the Negroes were in Arabia, right? They came into Greece and Turkey through Arabia, whose people for many centuries have been much more mulatto than white. The same is true of Egypt and other parts of North Africa, which were once under Turkish rule. Sir Richard Burton, Lawrence of Arabia, and others tell of the absence of color presence among the Arabs and of the leaders who were coal black. So he's saying you had leaders who were coal black. Anybody know what it means to be coal black? He said it was coal black. Lion Pride said, what? I would have visited Romania, Russia icons, but I wasn't woke until 2016. I was USAF veteran, but 2009, 2015, I was being Boeing civilian contractor for the USA supported C-17 plane. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Bill collector. No, it's not a bill collector. I take that back. Okay. Let's see. So where's that? Let me go back in here. Okay. The inflow of Negroes into Italy. So we're doing Greece, Italy. The inflow. This part right here. Y'all look. Y'all got to get this part here, right? This is heavy because this is what shaped where we are today, right? And this is the part of history that they won't tell you, right? Okay. He says, the inflow of Negroes into Italy, which had taken place under the Romans. Let me back that up again. Somebody missed it. See, these guys are prophetic, man. These J.A. Rogers is prophetic, but he's quoting somebody else, so they are prophetic as well. Watch what he says here, right? Watch where they come from. Watch this now. He says the inflow of Negroes into Italy. So we're talking about Italy now. Italians. The inflow of Negroes into Italy, which had taken place under the Romans and the Moors, continued into the 17th century, which is what, 1600, right? So the Negroes were continually pouring into Italy until the 17th century, or 1601. When did the Italians become white? All right. I don't know what I did here. Let me see what I did. Hold on a second. All right. So it had taken place until the 17th century, right? The slavery of the whites and blacks extended from Constantinople to Rome. The Venetians and the Genoese, great slave traders, brought Negroes in numbers to Italy, where they were used as what? Soldiers, slaves, wrestlers, divers, swim masters, musicians, jailers, hatchet men, executioners, pages, and pets for noble ladies. Three of the later were Lucretian Borgia. There goes your Borgia. Caesar Borgia, Lucretia Borgia, right? Isabella. So, okay, that kind of throws a can of worm there. So we see the picture of Caesar Borgia. So that's a false picture because according to him, Caesar Borgia would have had some Negro features because these are Negroes mixed with Romans. But I digress. Isabella of Mantua and Queen Isabella of Aragon. The latter wrote her agent in Venice asking him to send her a Negro blacker in color than the previous one. Unmixed Negroes were generally preferred in the courts and households of the rich of those with a white strain. In Sicily, most of the slaves brought in were unmixed Negroes, accounting in part of the present dark color of its population. Boom! Sicily, right? Livy, in the article of domestic slavery in the Middle Ages and in the importance of anthropology, says that Negroes did what? Negroes, okay, there goes some more pictures. 16th century Venice. Okay. Italy. I showed this one last week, I think. That's Lucretia Borgia. So she's a relative of Caesar Borgia. So how about that one there? Italy. Okay, let's go. It came from Bornu and were therefore the purest African strain. Okay, along with these blacks were Saracens. So we see Saracens in the scriptures. We're not going to go there. Who might have been of any color from black to white. White Circassians slaves were common too. Negro soldiers served besides white ones. It was a Negro who killed Marquis de Pasquier, the French commander at Castel Nova in Italy in 1492. Did y'all know that? Pasquier had bribed the Negro to let him enter the castle, but the latter tricked him. In Venice, Negroes were gondoliers. Caldini mentions a Negro shoemaker there. The famous printer Aldo Manusio had a Negro in his print shop, from whom came the phrase printer's devil. One Negro slave gave to his physician of Queen of Bohemia a cure for snake bite. And an herb shop, one of the most remarkable of his time, had on its sign the head of an Ethiopian. Okay. So let's go down here. So white slaves were sold among with black ones. In 1649, Scotsmen captured by Cromwell were sold in Venice. White women were exposed nude for sale. Brantome tells of the one beautiful captive who was examined openly. Okay, all right. He tells also of seeing Negro slaves and chambermaids, presumably white, dancing at Malta. Okay. Negroes became favorites and jesters at the Italian court. So you had Negro jesters. You know what a jester is? Right. Brantome mentions one of the courts of Alfonso I, King of Naples, Aragon, in 1450. The King Reign of Sicily had several. These blacks were sometimes crowned kings in jest at court festivals. Right? Okay. White princes had Negro women as mistresses, and their children were accepted into nobility. White princes had Negro women as mistresses. Interesting. Alfonso I of Naples had a daughter by a Negro woman. She married the great Leonello Cardinal de' Medici, later Pope Clement VII. Had a son by Anna, slave of servant of his aunt. This son, Alessandro de' Medici, became the first ruler of Florence and married the daughter of Emperor Charles V. How about that? His children married persons of high rank. Casanova, most famous lover of history, probably came of this Negro stock. Casanova. He had an African complexion. In his coat of arms are two Negroes. As a result of the importation of Negroes, many Southern Italians and Greeks in the 18th century were so dark that when Napoleon ran short of Negroes for his black brigades, he used them. Sicilians were then much darker than they are now. I wonder what happened to their color. What happened to their color, huh? A more recent instance of Negro strain in the distinguished Italian family is that of the Garibaldis and the Giuseppe. Garibaldi, famous patriot, married a Brazilian mulatto woman. His favorite aide in the Italian campaigns was the Uruguayan Negro Andrea Aguiar, who had a white wife. American Negro soldiers in the Second World War had a number of children by Italian women. And now, shifting the gear to Austria and Germany. Let's see. The Negro strain in the peoples of Northern Europe was already discussed in Volume 1 of Sex and Race. To this, the Northern Europe, Russia was taken. Wait a minute, let me back up. This part right here you don't want to miss. I'm going to take my time. This part, you don't want to miss this part here. This is going to debunk a whole lot of the anti-Semitic garbage that you see on globally. Okay. And we're going to go to Sex and Race. We're going to read this. I'm going to show you some stuff in Sex and Race. Y'all going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
You're going to learn today.
I'm going to show y'all some stuff from Sex and Race book. Y'all going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
You're going to learn today.
Call your mama. Tell your mama, this guy's on here. He's going in deep. He's bringing out some history that a lot of people don't know about from J.A. Rogers. You're going to learn today. Right? Right? Tell them this.
You don't want to miss this video.
That's my guy there. Social Fire. What'd he say?
You don't want to miss this video.
All right. So let's see where we at. Okay. So we talk about Austria, Germany, Holland, and Belgium. So let's do this real quick. Let's take all these out. Okay. So we're going to put here Germany. Wait, hold on. Germany. Okay. And then I want to put Belgium in here. Belgium. Right. And what was the other place he said? Holland. Austria, and Holland. So Austria, and Holland. Y'all gonna like this here. This gonna debunk a whole lot of false Semitic garbage. Right? Okay, here we go. So he says, so look at these places here, right? He says Belgium, Amsterdam, Germany, and Austria. Now, can y'all see the map? Let me zoom it out so y'all can see what lands we're talking about. We're talking about in the Caucasian regions of North Europe, right? Okay. Oh man, we about to hit some stuff here. Look, Germany. Germany was added into it, right? Now, kudos to Dante Forson. I would give him credit. That brother's a bad dude, boy. He brought out about the black Khazars. Y'all didn't know it was black. It was white Khazars and black Khazars. Who's the black Khazars? They were the ones that converted the white Khazars. He's going to connect the dots right here. Okay. Now, let's go back in. Okay, to the book. I just want y'all to see the territory he's talking about. So now when we go back to the book, he says Austria, Germany, Holland, Belgium. Right? So the point is that from the political spectrum, right, we're taught that the Jews are in these regions, right? But they don't explain, they don't go into depth. Because when you say these territorial lands, your mind automatically goes to pale face, skin looking Caucasian. That's not to say that some of them are not, but the point is that Jay Rogers is going to break it down in this. And you're
going to learn today.
And
you don't want to miss this video.
All right. So let's bring it out. He said the Negro strain in the peoples of Northern Europe was already discussed in Volume 1 of Sex and Race. We're going to cover it in a minute. Okay, we're going to go there because I'm going to show you what he said. Because J. Rogers is a bad boy. Okay. To this, following facts may be added. Most of the Negro strain in Northern Europe and Russia was taken in by who? The Jews, who, in spite of religious prejudice against them, intermarried with Christians. As Maurice Fishberg, in his comprehensive study, The Jew, has shown and says Hertz, innumerable aristocrats have married Jewess. Oh, my mercy. So look, wait a minute, brother. Wait a minute. So check this out. So our Jewish brothers and sisters, if you know anything about Judaism and Jews, they claim their ancestry from the maternal line, not from the paternal line, from the maternal line. So what is J. Rogers telling you? That the Negroes was intermarrying with these women in Europe, with these women in Austria, right? With these women in Ashkenazim, Germany, right? With these women in what? Holland. With these women in what? Belgium. So you had Negro men marrying these European women, and they're saying to you in their history that they are Jewish by their mother. Y'all see where we're going with this? So this is connecting with the history that J.A. Rogers is pulling out. He's bringing out that these were Israelites who he said, now let's go back, because I'm bringing it out of race and sex and race in a minute. But let's just stick here for a second, all right? We're going to analyze this sucker. We're going to break it down. All right. So he said the Negro strain in the people of North Europe was already discussed in Volume 1, which we're going to cover. To this, the following facts should maybe added. Most of the Negro strains in Northern Europe and Russia was taken in by what? The Jews. So what is he saying to you, brothers and sisters? What is J.A. Rogers trying to tell y'all in this statement? These Jews were Negroes. And you ask a Jewish person the truth, go way back, they'll tell you that's true. So then you ask the question, ask Dr. Michael Brown, when did the Jews become white? When did they become white, brothers? This is because this is history, right? Deuteronomy said that we will be in all the lands, right? So now we got some people that don't look like the melanated version of us, because why? The fathers was having children by these women in Europe. Thank you for that. Moray Josiah, Shabbat Shalom, my brother. He said Damascus is the capital of Syria. Man. J. Rogers, that brother, boy, I'm telling you. Is anybody's head spinning with all this knowledge so far? This is too much. All right, let me get back in. All right. Okay, so he says what? To this following facts, it must be added the Negro strain in Northern Europe and Russia was taken in by the Jews, who, in spite of religious prejudice against them, intermarried with Christians. And Maurice Fishburne, in his comprehensive study, the Jew has shown and says Hertz innumerable aristocrats have married Jewish. As was already said, he says the ancient Jews who left Egypt must have been what? Quite Negroid. Let me say that again. Somebody missed that. Somebody's mad. I already know. See, that's why y'all say why you left. Because I know somebody's gonna see this as mad as hell. I got trolled me last week in the video. I said, this clown. I almost said something. This clown, no, nothing. He didn't even listen to the video. He got to debate all these sources, these references that J. Rogers goes in and gives connection to, right? So now watch this here. Okay, listen. All right. He says, as was already said, the ancient Jews who left Egypt must have been quite Negroid after mating with Egyptians and Ethiopians for centuries. Who they mate with? Egyptians and Ethiopians for centuries. Look at that guy do a little video. For centuries, right? I'm getting all kinds of visitors today. Y'all get out of here. Get out of my space. Okay. All right. For centuries. We're at centuries. Okay. After mating with Egyptians and Ethiopians for centuries, they were probably even originally Negroid. Wait a minute, brother. Say that again. Wait a minute. He said they were probably even originally Negroid. Abraham, according to the Bible, came from Ur of the Chaldees, right? Chaldea was the seat of the Sumerian, right, civilization, which was long considered to be white Aryan. But, he says, it was Negroid, says, okay, so he's got a reference here. Who is this here? I'm not going to pull this reference out. Okay, so he's referring to the book. Okay, page 57, 58, chapter 9. Okay. He says, but it was Negroid, says, spearing in the childhood of art. The discovery, he says, was very disconcerting to literary historians and phylogist. That's a hard word right there. Philologist, philologist. Okay, y'all got it. Historians and philologists for that race was proved to be not a branch of the civilizing Aryans, nor of the gifted Semites, but of a Negroid people having affinities with Mongols. And this person here, Dialophoi, also in his research says that the Elamites, who once dominated in that region, were Negroes. So he's referencing 27a. Who's that? 27a is Sparing HG. HG Sparing, 1912, right? Okay. All right. We're not going to look at the reference, but I was curious to know who he's quoting. Okay. So he says that Dialophoi also in his research says that the Elamites who once dominated in that region were Negroes. One of their kings is mentioned in connection with Abraham in Genesis 14, right? Elamite, the king of Elamites, right? So that's interesting there, right? So J.A. Rogers is quoting someone who says that the Elamites were Negroes. So how do we go to the point where we say, y'all Negroes are not Israelites, you Hamites? When J. Rogers is connecting the dots, he's reading all these references from all these other authors, is telling you that the Israelites was marrying and mixing with Egyptians and Ethiopians for centuries. So how could you not be a part of this stock? If these people were intermarried from the Bible dynamic, you don't have to believe that you're a Hebrew Israelite. From the Bible dynamic, when you look at the people that the Israelites was marrying, it makes sense that they had color. But somebody don't get it because you stuck in religion. All right? What y'all gonna do with this stuff, man? Look.
What you bringing to the table, brother?
All right, we're gonna go further. We're gonna go deeper. All right. Now, y'all wait till I get to sex and race. I'm gonna show y'all some pictures. Okay, here we go. So where was I at here? Okay. Strabo. Now he's going to quote from Strabo. Strabo, 30 BC, just in case you don't know, this is not 19, this is not 21st century, this is not the 20th century, this is what? Century 1 BC. Strabo, 30 BC, says the people of Western Judea were of part Egyptian ancestry. But he says, although the inhabitants are mixed up, thus the most prevalent of the accredited reports in regards to the Temple of Jerusalem represents the ancestors of the present Judeans as they were called Egyptians. Now he's bringing Tacitus into the picture. Tacitus, of about 90 AD, that's on the other side, says, many assert, he's quoting here, that the Jews are an Ethiopian race. Boom. Watch this now.
Wait a minute.
They were Ethiopian race. For the Romans to have taken them for Ethiopians is clear indication of their color, since the Ethiopians were definitely black to the Romans. Can I get a witness? Can I get amen?
Amen.
Ancient Jewish legends themselves recognize a Negro strain among the Jews. Let's say that again. Somebody missed that. Ancient Jewish legends themselves recognize a Negro strain among the Jews. Genesis Rabbah, he's quoting now, 18 reads, when the Jews returned from Babylon Their wives had become brown almost during the years of captivity, and a large number of the men divorced their wives. The divorced women probably married black men, which would to some extent account for the existence of black Jews. Solomon loved a black Shulamite, and his Song of Solomon was written to her. She was black but comely and burnt by the sun. Waite says an interesting gradation of all shades down to the black is exhibited by the Jews. There's a passage of the Jews as a speckled bird, right? Okay, anyway, Israelites are as a speckled bird. I'm not going to go there. Okay. Especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. What? Back that up again. What? Especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. Let me back that up one more doggone time. Especially black, right? Especially black. The Portuguese, especially dark, I should say, especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. The Portuguese Jews were very dark, says Pritchard. The Duchess de Brante's wife of Napoleon's ambassador to Portugal said that the Jew, the Negro, and the Portuguese could be seen in a single person, right? So now we know where Dante Forson got that from, right? Okay, because he quotes the book, right? So look at the book. He says, okay, if we go down here, it is the book called Memoirs, Volume 5, Chapter 26, 1835, in 12 volumes, where he says the Jews, especially Portugal, southern Spain. Okay, this Believe Bar book shows what an error most people are in, since he says the German Jews, as example those of Prague, are as white as most of their German countrymen. Many of the Jews who were banished from Portugal by John II. Okay, let's look at this picture right quick before we go to the next page. So this here is Ferdinand Lassalle Ferdinand. He's the founder of socialism. That's him here. Look at the Negro features of him, right? Look at his hair. He got woolly hair. He's a mixture. He got the European nose, but he got the African hair. So then you got lower left is Higamonte, 17th century Australian artist. That's the lower left. This one here, Austrian. And then the lower right, you have Dr. Ernest Swinger, professor of University of Berlin and a physician of Prince Bismarck. How about that, right? All right, so now I left off where I said many Jews were banished from Portugal by John II, right? Okay, look at this one here. This is Negro drummers, probably of Spanish armies in Holland, Belgium, and Rembrandt about 1634. Look at that. Look at that right there, y'all.
Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor.
Okay, so look, see that? Okay. This is Negro drummers of Spanish armies in Holland, right? This is Germany and Belgium, right? So these are the pictures. I said upper and lower mulattoes by Albert Dürer in 1471 to 1458. Right are Bassar by Bernard Van Orley, 1490 to 50. So in the 15th century, this is how they viewed Germany and Belgian people. the Negroes in Germany and Belgium. Look at that. Huh? Y'all don't hear me. Okay. It's Holland, right? So upper left, Balthasar, upper right, Negro by Van Dyck. Okay. In Holland. Look at the royal guy on the left. Royal, look at that. Here's Russia. Okay. So it says here, Peter the Great with one of his Negro favorites by. Now look at Peter the Great's hair, right? You can see the mixture with him, but I digress. Okay. This one here is it's turned sideways. Let's see that. Catherine the Great and her Negro. Okay. All right. Might have to turn your head sideways to see that one there. Okay. I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay. So now here's where we left off. So it says now this is Brother Benaiah's part right here. Brother Benaiah likes this here. Hey, Shabbat Shalom to you, my brother Digital. Good to see you, my brother. Shabbat Shalom, my brother. Boom. All right. Okay. So now we left off here where he said that the Jews who were banished from Portugal by John II, look, this is Benaiah's part right here. Many of the Jews who were banished from Portugal by John II, okay, what happened to them? Let's go to the next page. Settled in the West Indies. John Bigelow, who visited Jamaica in 1850, saw the descendants of these Jews and says they were Negroid. How about that? So he's saying that the Jews that was banned from Portugal were imported to the West Indies. How are we not connected to them? I got some Jamaican relatives down there that I matched with DNA with some Jamaicans, right? Okay. It's all coming out. Okay. Listen to this part. The Eastern Jews who settled in Austria, Poland, and Russia were Negroid too. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Was J.A. Rogers a closet Hebrew Israelite? I think he was. It wasn't favorable. His they didn't want to write his book. This brother was deep, man. But look what he said. He said the Eastern Jews who settled in Austria. Let's go back to the map. Where's Austria at? Okay. Right here. Austria. Right? All right, follow me now. He said, this is what J. Rogers is quoting. He's quoting from, this is a quote. The Eastern Jews who settled in Austria, Poland, Russia were Negroid too. So Austria, Poland, and Russia. So you go back to the map, you got Austria and Poland. Now he adds Poland to the picture. Y'all don't like me, I'm trying to tell you. And he adds Russia to the picture. Hold on a second. He adds Russia to the picture. Look at that. Way over there. Okay. Let's just put Moscow in because let's put Moscow. We know Moscow was a hub for Hebrew Israelite settlement. There we go. So now we can see. See the map now. Zoom it in. Right? So J. Rogers is saying He said the Eastern Jews who settled in Austria, Poland, Russia were Negroid too. Count Adam Groski of Poland, who visited the United States in 1857, said the Jews of his country strongly resembled the American mulattoes. Numbers of Jews, he said, have the greatest resemblance to the American mulattoes. Sallow complexion, thick lips, crisp black hair. Of all the Jewish population scattered over the globe, 1/4 dwells in Poland, he says. I am therefore well acquainted with their features. Of my arrival in this country, America, I took every light colored mulatto. I took every light colored mulatto for a Jew. Y'all see that? Considerably Negro strain was found too among the Polish Jews in London. For years, two New York white dailies, The News and The Mirror, have been advertising kinky hair straightened permanently in one treatment. That's funny. Oh, that's funny right there. Straightened permanently in one treatment. The service is for whites only. Customers are probably Jews. A Negro hairdresser in Harlem once had many of them among her customers. He goes into Karl Marx now. Karl Marx, right? So let me just kind of get y'all. So you know how you hear the right winger say, he's a Marxist, right? Okay. When we're done with this here, you're going to now see why that is a prejudiced racial statement. Okay, because obviously, apparently, maybe they know that Karl Marx had some Negro DNA. So let's go back in here. All right. So watch what J.R. Rogers brings out in this part. He says Karl Marx, who bore a strong resemblance to Frederick Douglass. Karl Marx, who bore a strong resemblance to Frederick Douglass, undoubtedly came of this Negroid stock. Woo! So what did J. Rogers say? Karl Marx, the one that they attribute Marxism to, he's saying he had Negro. He came from the Negro stock. I'm trying to tell y'all, brothers and sisters, we've been what we've been. You've been had. We've been had big time, y'all. Woo! Jay Rogers, I'm telling you, he's no joke. Let's get back in here, all right? So he says, Karl Marx, who bore a strong resemblance to Frederick Douglass. So he resembled Frederick Douglass, undoubtedly came of the Negro stock. His nose was broad, his hair was frizzy, and his color was so dark that he was called the Moor. Did y'all know that? The Negro strain was even more evident in Ferdinand Lassalle. That's the one we showed you a picture of. Aristocratic founder of socialism. So he's the founder of socialism, right? Not Karl Marx, but Ferdinand Lassalle. So let's see. We go back up to his picture, right? Okay, let's go back. Ferdinand. One more page, I think. Oh, two more. Wait a minute. Hold on. Here he is, right here. That's who he's talking about. This man here, Ferdinand, right? Ferdinand Lassalle. So he said Ferdinand Lassalle was the founder of socialism, right? Marx was his rival, called him a Jewish nigger. Huh? Y'all, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Look. He said, let me read it again. Karl Marx was an rival, right? And Karl Marx, who had black features, called Marx, his rival called him, he called this he called Ferdinand Lassalle, he called him, what did he call him? A Jewish nigger. He says, a greasy Jew from Breslau who was always concealing his woolly hair with all kinds of hair oil. We can relate to that today, right? Perming his hair, right? Ferdinand. Oh my mercy. Ferdinand, right? Let me back. Where was I here? It says Marx, his rival, called him a Jewish nigger, a greasy Jew from Breslau, who always concealing his woolly hair with all kinds of hair oil and makeup. In a letter to Anglaise in March 7, 1856, he said of LaSalle, it is perfectly obvious from the shape of his head and the way his hair grows that he is descended from the Negroes. I can't take it. That was an insult, but look, see, that's why they want to burn these books, bro. It's just, the truth is coming out, okay? The truth is coming out, right? Wait till I read Sex and Race in a minute, okay? All right. He says another source of considerable Negro strain in the white stock were the black pages who were common in the families of nobility and the rich throughout Europe as far north as Russia. These blacks were so used for many centuries and as late as the First World War. Oh, recent times. How about that? They usually married into white families and are undoubtedly some of the Swartzman, Moors, and other European coats of honor. The park at San Souci, residence of the Prussians rulers, has busts of some of these Negro favorites. In fact, Negro ancestry crops up in some of the unexpected places, as in Swedish royal families. Boom. Bernadotte, its founder, had a slight Negro strain inherited in southern France, and Gustavus the Fourth, no, is that right? The fourth, yeah, had considerable more, as one have shown in Volume 1 of Sex and Race. Portraits of Gustavus the Fourth, especially one of him on a horseback by Lafranson the Younger, and now in the private collection of Baron Rammel, leave no doubt of this. Right? In short, Germans are not the pure whites many assert that they are. Let me read that again, right? In short, Germans are not the pure whites many assert they are. One more time. In short, Germans are not the pure whites many assert they are. Several German writers agree on that, among them Frederick Hertz, there go your Hertz, Bruno Springer, Jerry Springer, and Rudolf Rocker. Beethoven, for instance, is named by all three as showing Negro blood. Springer names, among others, Dr. Ernest Swiner of the Italian Negro ancestry, who was professor of dermatology at the University of Berlin and was private physician to the great German Chancellor Bismarck. Rocker includes Martin Luther and Goethe. He says we need but think of Luther, Goethe, Beethoven, who lack almost completely the external marks of the Nordic race, right? So he said they didn't look like the Nordic race, whom even the most outstanding exponents of the race theory, characterized by hybrids, by Oriental Levantes and Negro Malayan strains in them. How about that for Martin Luther? They do have pictures of him showing him with that woolly hair, right? He said Dante Forson brought out. Let me see. Brought out that Russia sent their Black Navy to help blockade the southern waters and keeping other European countries from hindering establishing the United States. Okay. Okay. Let's see, where was that here? Okay. The First World War brought considerable mixing, principally between French Negro soldiers and German women on the Rhine. How about that? We're gonna cover that in a second. French Negro soldiers? French Negro soldiers, y'all. Man, I'm trying to tell you here. Let's see. Okay, French Negro soldiers and German women on the run. As was discussed in Volume 1 of Sex and Race, the offspring of these are gradually disappearing into the white population. So this explains to why they have that. He says, the First World War brought in considerable mixing, principally between French Negroes, soldiers, and German women on the Rhine. So on the Rhine, you got the Khazars, the white Khazars. So I guess these white Khazars were the German women that these French Negroes married. Interesting, right? As was discussed in Volume 1 of Sex and Race, the offspring of these were gradually disappearing into white population, right? So there you have it. So some of the white people that look white, they're not white. They're Negro. Hiding their identity. Because white is favorable in the times of the Gentiles. All right, Shabbat Shalom, light to the Gentile. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you, my brother. All right, let's see. So, J. Rogers, boy, I tell you, so much. He's such a scholar, man. Okay, German women who, from what I've seen and read of them, are very fond of colored men. Welcome American Negro soldiers with open arms in 1945. Recent times, Miss Alice B. Shaw, U.S. Army Club Director, who was stationed in Bremen and Bavaria, said Pittsburgh Courier, July 6, 1947, I have been in Italy and France and have seen the success of the colored soldiers with women, but never in my life have I seen women trail our boys as the Germans. The French and Italians showed a little reserve, but he says, not the Germans. William Garner Smith, in his novel Last of Conquerors, has given an account of German women and the Negro soldiers in the Second War that is almost documentary. How about that? How about that? Man. Let's read this paragraph here. It says, the right, he says, can no longer be looked upon as a white country. Throughout our lifetime and long after, there will be colored people in Germany. The First World War, as was, and white women, especially in Rhineland, I have seen a number of German mulattoes, offspring of Negro soldiers in both these wars. Nazis once had an exhibit of pictures of them at Dusseldorf. Okay. So look at these pictures here. I'm gonna stop reading right there. Just some more pictures. These are offspring of Negro fathers and white mothers. Upper right of Moroccan father, World War One. So she has a Moroccan father. Okay. How about that? So interesting, right? Children of Negro soldiers by white mothers. Okay. Let's read a little bit here. Russia, in addition of her native Negroes, had many imported ones who were used as servants, slaves, who sometimes married into nobility. Some masters, says Albert Perry, were notoriously good to the black slaves. Several American Negroes have reared families by white women in Russia. One was George Thomas, a wealthy amusement park owner. Did y'all know that? With many friends among the Russian nobility and confidential agent of the Khazar. The Professor John Gordon of Smolny Institute, who was a figure of more than a little important in Russian Revolution. A doorman at the American embassy, he went over into Bolsheviks and became a member of the central government. He is mentioned in two United States Senate reports. He married an Estonian woman. Okay. There goes to Norway. Okay. Norway intermarriage. Okay, very good, very good. This is a American-born soprano with her Norwegian husband. Okay, I think I saw that picture before. Okay, so Holland, he says, George Schuler, on his visit to Holland in 1951, wrote, "Here are Negroes too, mostly from Suriname, seamen, musicians, doctors, businessmen, students, nurses, about 3,000 in Holland and 1,000 in Amsterdam. Many men and women are married to whites, doing well in this land of no color discrimination. One Negro heads a public school wherein all teachers and pupils are white. Copenhagen, also as Royal Copenhagen, it's a men's cologne. Copenhagen also has an unmixed Negro, Victor Cornelius, as an inspector of schools." Okay. Some more pictures there. Okay. Okay, let's read this part right here. It says, Fishberg M. the Jew, 1911, says, "The Negro type of the Jew is yet to be mentioned. Once occasionally meets with Jew whose skin is very dark and the hair black and woolly, the head long with prominent occiput. The face is pronatus. The two jaws are projecting into form of muscle. The lips are thick, upturned so that the nostrils can be seen in profile. The Negro type can be singled out in any large assembly of Jews. They are often mistaken for mulattoes and the often knows of one who can considerably difficultly to get along with southern states of America." Okay. Okay, before we go to the French, I want to go to Saxon race. And in Saxon race, I want to start here. Let's see, this is page. I want to show you some pictures here real quick. Okay. Let's go up to page 160. Let's go up to start at 160 and we're going to come down. Okay. I might have to flip this around the other way. Okay, this is 160. So let's kind of rotate it around here. Okay, there we go. So now this is the book Saxon Race by J. Rogers. It's on page 160, right? So these people, these are images. So at the bottom it says upper front and profile of a Spaniard at 1500 BC. This is probably the ancestral type of the Silveris of Western Britons. How about that? Cadiz Museum. So this upper front. Look at the nose. Look at the nose, right? Look at the lips, right? So this was, as he says here, was a profile of a Spaniard of 1500 BC. 1500 BC. He says probably the ancestral type of the Silvers of Western Britons. See that? Man, now, so this one here, it says the lower left, Don Francisco del Mazo, A Spanish mulatto nobleman painted by Goya. The Goya Foods. Look at him. What's that preacher name in L.A.? The preachers of L.A. He looks like him. What's his name? What is that guy's name? Tia and Tamara used to go to his church. What is that guy's name? He was one of the preachers of L.A. He looked like him. Lower left. Okay. Then we have right Louis Molina, the great Catholic reformer. Right. That's Louis Molina. Right. You can't make this stuff up, brothers and sisters. Right. Right. I'm looking at the comment. What's that preacher name in L.A.? He was in the Preachers of L.A. What's that preacher's name? I call him Reverend Ike Jr. because he reminds me of Reverend Ike, the slick hair. What is his name? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. So let's go back in here. So this is another image. This one here is Princess Donna Juana of Spain. Donna Juana, that kind of like Don Juan, Donna Juana of Spain, Austria, and the Netherlands with her Negro favorite. Okay. So that's a sister right there. I know a sister that looked like her. she got a chocolate favorite. How about that? Okay. I think we're done for pictures for now. Let's see. Okay. We read this in Nature Knows the Color Line, but he said the Moors also dominate parts of Italy. In 846, they laid siege to Rome. 878, they captured Sicily, and from Normans, and from 898, defeated Otto II of Germany in South Italy. As in Spain, they mixed. Okay, so this is Alessandro de' Medici, the Duke of Florence, and son-in-law of the Emperor Charles V. We talked about that in Nature Knows No Color Line. Alessandro's father was a pope, and his mother was a Negro servant of such great beauty that she is called the Italian Cleopatra. How about that? Look at that. Look at that picture. So Alessandro de' Medici, the Duke of Florence. The Duke of Florence. How about that? Interesting. I got a book about the Dukes to show you. A light. See, what did light say? Light said, I did a lesson about the possibility of whites having Negro DNA and blacks have white DNA. He said he started dropping the subscribers. That people don't want the truth, man. But hey, truth is the light. Okay. Good job. Good job. Okay. So now let's see. This is let's flip this back. Hold on, I want to look at this picture here while I'm going this way. This is, what is this saying here? Okay. I don't have to read that part. I want to show you these pictures, and then we're gonna read this other part. Page 169. So here are a light. You're gonna like this part right here. Right? So these could be Edomites. Okay. Bogior of Maria de Medici, Queen of France, Lovere. See notes on illustration. Okay. Is that a queen? That's not a queen. Where you see queen at? Okay. See notes. Okay, never mind. Noble Italian ladies and their armors with Negro slaves. Oh, this is the one he's talking about here. This queen. Look at the queen. Look at the queen. Look at the queen. 1 to 7, 9 and 10 cameos from the Bibliothèque National Paris, Attic Greek face of the 5th century BC. See notes. The Greek face. Oh, another bump in the road there for the Edomite Esau the white man. Look at the Negro features on these coins, brothers and sisters. Oh my goodness. Oh my mercy. Okay. So here is what he quoted from Nature, right? Miscegenation in Holland, Belgium, Austria, Russia, and Poland. He says Negro strain entered Belgium, Netherlands after Christian era, principally through the Jews who migrated there in large numbers from Spain and Portugal. Let's back it up. Somebody missed that. I want to amplify what he just said. He says Negro strain entered Belgium and Netherlands after the Christian era, principally through the Jews who migrated there in large numbers from Spain and Portugal, right? So let's back up for a second. Let's back it up one more time because that was kind of heavy. Okay. Listen closely, brothers and sisters. Listen closely. Yeah, Clarence McClendon, that was his name. Thank you. That's him, Clarence, but he looked like Clarence McClendon. That's who that image. But anyway, so listen closely, right? J. Rogers says Negro strain entered Belgium, which we just covered, Netherlands after the Christian era through the Jews who migrated there in large numbers from Spain and Portugal, and from the Spanish occupation of the Low Countries, which lasted nearly 3 centuries. So this right here, right? Now, Bishop Nathaniel always quotes that page, but Bishop Nathaniel don't go all the way in. You know, Bishop Nathaniel, he will quote stuff that's convenient to support his doctrine. He won't go all the way in the book because there's other stuff that you got to consider when you quoting from books like John Ogilvie. So he said, let's go back. I want to show you something. I want to make a connection here. Okay. So J.A. Rogers is talking about what Ogilvie said when he says, let me see, where's that line at again? Negro strain entered Belgium and Netherlands after the Christian era, principally through Jews who migrated there in large numbers from Spain and Portugal, and the Spanish occupation of the Low Countries, right? Of the Low Countries, right here, this part right here, which lasted nearly for 3 centuries. Here we go, right here. Let's highlight it, right? Now, we go back to Africa being an accurate description. On this page right here, he says what? From the lowlands. Where's the lowlands here? They was Persian. So going back here, he says others were Asian strangers who fled there from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian and from Judea, wasted, populated by Romans, Persians, and Saracens and Christians. Now remember, he said after the Christian era, or else such as came out of Europe once they were banished out of some parts of Italy in the year 1342, out of Spain in the year 1462, out of the Low Countries, right? The Low Countries, there it is, in 1350. So you got Low Countries, right? So now, going back to J. Rogers' Saxon race, so he talks about the Low Countries, right? Now the time period is a little different here. I don't know if that's an accurate time, but according to Ogilvie, it was 14th century, right? Okay, anyway. As was said, Spain had large numbers of Negroes in their armies, the Negro blood in the nobility. According to the 7th century Spanish classic El Vante Negro en Flandes by Andrés de Claramonte Guaycori, a Negro ex-slave Juan de Merida rose to be the lieutenant general of the Duke of Alba, the Spanish commander in Flanders. The Spaniards ting the fair skins of Nordics and Netherlands. Okay, so here's the lowlands again. Another writer, Bogart Vach, claims, however, that there was black-skinned race living in the Low Countries before the Spanish invasion. He says there are documents which prove the existence of blacks in Flanders in the Middle Ages. I have long called attention to this fact in the life of Saint, whatever his name is, 11th century, written by the contemporaries Drogon, a monk of Abbey, and Saint Andres de Brux, right? So, wow. So that's, look at this part here. He says Negroes, right, in fairly large numbers are to be found in Belgian seaports, principally artworks. I saw hundreds of them there. Some of them had married Belgian wives and had children. They came principally from the Congo. Negroes are also in Belgian army in Belgium. Whatever the Belgian may be in Africa, he is free from color prejudice at home. Okay. So here's some more. We're not going to go into all of this other writing here because it's going to add too much. I just want y'all to see these pictures. So this one here is The Dutch Negro Woman of the 17th Century by Gerard Dow. So there goes your Dutch Negro woman. These are Hebrews. Now, when we say Negro, we have to be cognizant of the fact that a Negro could also include an Edomite. Okay? Or could include just a general Hebrew. Right? Okay. This is Angelo Salyman and his daughter, Baron von, they got these names I can't pronounce. Solomon's son-in-law. Okay. Now, she kind of, this is, let's see, this is the right. Oh, he says that's a man, son-in-law. Okay. Is that a man? Who's that? Who's that remind you of when you see this picture here? The way the head cover is and all that. Josiah Ford. Okay. All right. So yeah, so you see a whole lot of stuff here. Okay. I'm not going to go too much into this because this is too much. Negro white mixing in Germany. Let me move fast because what's this one here? This is let's spin this one around. What is this here? Negro Aryan mixing in Germany. Okay, so we're gonna go to the Aryan in a minute, and then we're gonna do French real quick, and then we're gonna go into the Anglo Saxon. Okay. So that's it. That's all I'm gonna offer in the Saxon race book. So praise y'all for that. Okay. Let's go back to Nature Never Color Line. Let's try to wrap it up. So we're gonna go to French real quick. I'm just gonna read a couple paragraphs out of the French here. Okay, now if we go to this is the French, right? Okay, the Moors. Let me bring it up on the screen here. The Moors, as was seen, invaded France in the 8th century and remained there until the 12th, when they were absorbed into the population. Let me back that up again. He says the Moors, as was seen, invaded France in the 8th century and remained there until the 12th, when they were absorbed into the population. So how about that? So the Moors were absorbed into the French population. 5 centuries later, in 1609, this stock was reinforced by entry of about 1 million more who came in on the invasion of Henry IV on their final expulsion from Spain. They settled in Auvergne, where their strain is still evident in the general population. There is a strong Negroid strain in many of these, says John Gunther. Among those of Moorish stock were such noted figures as Bertrand du Guesclin, whoever that is, Charles Bernadette, Napoleonic Marshal and King of Sweden, Jehoiakim Murat, Napoleon's brother-in-law and King of Naples, and Pierre Laval, twice Premier of France. Laval was an Auvergnat and rather Negro in appearance. In addition to the Moors were the Negro slaves of Negroid Levantes brought in Christians in the 13th century earlier. Ethiopian Moors, Turks, and Greeks furnished chiefly the crowd of slaves in the homes of the wealthy, says Matheres. Later, when modern Negro slavery started in Portugal by 1440, the number of Negro slaves as well as Negroes increased in France. Okay. So here's some pictures here. This is Princess de Conti of France and her Negro favorite. Okay, I'm going to skip past reading. I'm just going to show you some more pictures here. Types of Negro soldiers, Napoleon right. See, this is stuff they don't tell you. So Napoleon had Negro soldiers. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you stuff like this. I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna skip past that there. There's a lot there. Talking about Hannibal in there. Okay. You go fast. I don't get no trouble out of YouTube. Okay. Well, I mean, not light. Blind Pride. What that is what bothered me. Them all being called Negroes, but there's one chosen, which right. That's right. So Hebrew Edomites were known stays close to power families. Right. So yeah, I mean, so when they say Negro, they're basically saying, black, which could come in many forms. Okay. So every Negro is not necessarily a Hebrew Israelite. Okay. Let's see. Let's close this down. Let's go back in here. Okay, so that's the French, right? Let me skip forward a little bit. Okay, so I want to get to the Anglo Saxon part. This the fun part here. Okay, so French is cool, right? But I want to go to this part. Okay, who is this here? Okay, I'm gonna skip that. I just want to look at the picture there. I want to get to the Anglo Saxon. We're gonna skip through this here. So 156. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is the fun part right here. All right, we about to have some fun. This for my Anglo-Saxon people that got a little haterade. They want to get mad and call you a nigger. He's a nigger. I had a guy did that one time. I pulled in front of somebody. I drive a tractor trailer, and the guy pulled up, followed me to the truck stop, and called me a nigger. And I said, wait. I said, wait right there, brother. You got something to say? You wait right there. I went to my truck to get my Bible. And when I went to his truck, he was gone. He took off. I said, you got so much to say, brother. Let me see what you got. Let me see what you're working with. Y'all pray for me. I had a moment there. So y'all go say with that hand, right? And that hard R. All right, you the hard R. Right? I want to see what you're working with, brother. You got so much to say. Let's see if you say it to my face, right? I went over to his truck. He pulled off. He pulled off quick. All right, let me get back. Okay, so the Anglo-Saxon race. Here we go. The Anglo-Saxon race, Negro ancestry. So let me just make somebody mad as hell. Look, Negro ancestry in the Anglo-Saxons race. All right, y'all ready? Here we go. Let's go in. As was said, there is evidence that Negroes or Negroids lived in the British Isles in prehistoric times and in the Middle Ages. From the 15th century onward, there is an abundant evidence of them. So, what time? From the 15th century onward, there is an abundant evidence of them. Negro slavery was introduced in England about that time that lasted until 1773 and probably even 1834 when there was a general emancipation in the British Empire. How many blacks came in during those centuries will probably never be known. There must have been hundreds of thousands, however. They were enough at least to cause considerable mention in English literature, plays, pictures. Eva B. Dykes' The Negro in English Romantic Thought, Cipher, Guinea, Captive Kings, Notes, Inquiries, and Drawings of Gainsborough, Kent, Zoffany, Hogarth, Smith, Cruikshank, and Rowlandson are some of the many sources that show their presence. Bristol and Liverpool were the chief slave ports. Negroes were sold in batches there. So Bristol and Liverpool. Let's kind of bring it up real quick. Let's take this out. And let's go Bristol and Liverpool. Okay, so that's Bristol. And let's add Liverpool. So it's all in UK, right? Oh, that's a lot of territory, isn't it? That's a lot of territory. How about that? So what did he say about Bristol and Liverpool were the chief slave ports. Negroes were sold in batches there. Newspapers carried advertisements of their sale. In 1769, the Tsarina of Russia sent an Englishman to buy some. Gatterell gives several lawsuits in England involving slaves, one of them over a shipment of 100. Okay. Where am I going here? Let's see. Interesting picture. Let me see. There's so much in this. Look at the English pictures. Prince Cesacaro, wealthy London dandy of the 1750s, lower left. William Davidson, leader of the Cato Street conspiracy. Right. Alun Ahyo, Ethiopian prince adopted by Queen Victoria. Interesting, right? Okay, let's read this part right here. I think I'll wrap up right here. The nobility had its Negroes too. The immensely rich and dashing young Duke of Wharton had a Negro groom, Scipio, who rode nearly always with him. The Earls of the Dukes and Dorset as was said, had Negro pages for nearly 2 centuries. The Duke of York, son of George III and commander-in-chief of the army, had several Negro favorites. In 1783, he brought from Germany a military band with Negroes for the bass drums, cymbals, and triangles. They were probably some of the Negroes taken there by General Riedel, commander of George III's. Okay, all right. That's not something that I. Look at this picture here. This is a tambourinist of Scots Guards. Okay, so he basically, I'm trying to get to a connection part with the intermarriage, but they're showing you pictures. Sheikh Dean Mohammed. He look like my family. All right, brother. Brother Digital. Toda Rabah for the super chat, my brother. Praise Yah. Yes, indeed. I'm trying to get to a part where I can close because there's so much in this book. He talks about Negro scholars and so much in there in this chapter here. I want to get something good I could leave you with. Okay. Don't look like I'm finding what I'm looking for. I'm trying to do a quick scan. Let's see. Okay. Father, help me get a closing point. Okay, let's see. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but I'm trying to get something. I want a closing paragraph here. Okay, here we go. Let's close this here. Okay, this might be something. This might be something. Okay, let's see where we at. The case of mixed marriages and other unions I have so far given in England do not go beyond the middle of the 9th century, and they are but a very small portion of those that actually took place from the time of the Romans to then. As I said earlier, men regardless of color coming into foreign environment usually mate with women there. Now the question is what became of the great number of Negroes brought into England since before the time of Elizabeth? Absorbed into the white population, evidently, he's saying. There is probably only one instance of English Negroes being colonized in Africa. That is in 1787 when 351 were sent to Sierra Leone with their white wives. Therefore, it is clear that the Anglo Saxon blood is not the 100% pure we have been taught. It is Daniel Defoe called the English race a mongrel one in naming the many peoples of which it is composed. He did not include Negroes, but he could well have done so. He did mention, however, a mulatto who was the son of an English gentleman and a black woman. Right. Okay, there goes some pictures here. Abraham Hannibal, Negro of Peter the Great. That's this one here. I showed this picture before, right? Okay. Whew. I'm going to go ahead and end there. I can go and dig a little further deep, but I think we covered enough. Next Black History season, I think we'll pick it back up and we'll go and we'll do a deep dive into sex and race. Yah permits next season. Unless the Most High moves me in another arena. I mean, I don't know how long we're going to be around here on this forum like this. I mean, I enjoy being here on the Shabbat and in this space, but I don't know what the Father has in store for me right now. I sense something's coming. Something is coming on the horizon, right? I sense something great is about to happen. And it might take me to another place where this time that I have to stream like I do now might not be afforded to me. So I say that with all sincerity. I appreciate those of you that tune in from Shabbat to Shabbat to the live stream, and those of you that come in later on after you had your Shabbat, you come back and watch the videos and glean and share comments and stuff like that. I say that if you view us and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. If you enjoy or you got something out of any of our lessons we share, I ask you to share the videos and comment. I never get a lot of feedback from people about lessons or things and so forth that we share. So it's always good to get feedback on the videos itself. And if you don't want to be public about your comments and stuff like that, you can always send me an email to my yahresh at yahoo.com, YAHRESH at yahoo.com, right? Also, I for those that I took my scrollers off the screen, so my information to make contributions is not there. But for those that may want to make a contribution, let's see on the web. See if I can do it this way. I'll pull it and put it up on the screen. For those that want to make contributions, if you look at the screen, you'll see the channel, and if you go to Sons and Daughters of the Covenant, if you're watching this video and you click on the image, right, it'll take you to this page, Sons and Daughters of the Covenant at Malachi Ministries. And if you go and put more, right, this will give you a description, and then it will say for contributions, right? So right here, so for somebody that might want to say, brother, I've been wanting to make a contribution, but you don't post it on the screen no more, right? So I will post it in the chat, right? So that's the information there. So if you want to send a contribution, you appreciate what we shared on this channel and you want to offer a contribution, you got Cash App, which is $ Kazak Kabad, and Zelle, which is 410-739-4579. You see it on the screen. So those that want to make a contribution, we appreciate your love and your generosity, and that's how you can make a contribution to the channel, right? But like I said, I don't know how much longer. I don't know which direction. I'm really leaning towards leaving my employment in May. So at that time, I will be free to do my writing and stuff like that, and different things, different adventures that I'm moving into as the Most High leads me into it. So as long as I can hang out and be here on this live stream, I'm going to be here. But if the Most High moves me into another arena, you might see me today and I might be gone. You say, where did Brother Kazak go? If the Most High pull me away from this circle, from this platform to do other things, I'm going to do what the Most High called me to do, right? So with that said, brothers and sisters, I appreciate your love, appreciate your time. And let's close out with this here. Father, thank and praise you for all those that join this live stream, those who come later on, those who will not come, but those that are keepers of the covenant of Yah, those that are participating in your law, statutes, and commandments, and keeping your feast days as coming up, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's our desire that the blessings and peace of Yah, the pass of all comprehension, keep our hearts and minds through Yahshua the Messiah, to meet again at the point in time. We say hallelujah, hallelujah, Hallelujah. Todayah. Amen. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.